This week on the SRC podcast, we cover everything from round 2 of the Cup. Draws, upsets, everything you can think of, and preview round 3 with a very tasty East Wales derby. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, the one and only Double R, Mr. Rob Rees. Good evening, my friend. How are we?
Yeah, all good, but all good. It's the late night edition of the podcast.
It is. It's the very late night edition. For those in the know, I don't know why you'd be in the know, but just in case, we usually record at around. I probably said it anyway. We record about 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. It's currently 9:38.
Pass the
9:38.
watershed, Martin. Pass the watershed. Fuck
Oh
yeah.
no. See, he doesn't need an excuse, but he's taking it.
Yeah.
He's taking it. So we've been missing someone these past few weeks, and no, it's been disappointing not to run as a 3. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to stick a petition in to all you listeners. I need to change John Harris's nickname. We call him Bucky for obvious reasons. If you listen, I think we should change it to Sick Note. What are you thinking?
Sicky. From Bucky to Sicky.
Bucky to Sicky? Yeah, I like that. Right, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, if you're listening, drop a comment, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, whatever. Just shall we call him Sicky from now on? Or think of your own one if you like. I'm happy to go with anything, just as long as it winds him up a teeny bit. Okay, so let's get on to the action. Before we do dive into the Cup, we do have a league game, another rearranged fixture to cover, and Bridgend travel to Carmarthen Park to face the Quins. And quite frankly, there's not a great deal to be positive about. For me personally, in this game, it's a time of the year where the actual rugby does tend to suffer. I mean, the soft tries, but there were some beautiful tries as well. Both of the 17-all was the final result. Let's get that out of the way. It was a draw. It was a 2-try-apiece draw, and so, tries were soft. The result in getting over the line was soft. So Quinn's first one, the highlights are available on Espadrech Chwaraeon on YouTube, so you're more than welcome to go check them out. And literally, there's a lovely break from Gabriel McDonald, offload into the tackle. I can't remember. I think it's Ilya George that takes it. Nice little chip ahead. Regathers it. And then from the resulting phase, Jack Howell's playing at 9, usual 13. He just picks the ball up as a snipe and he just breaks through and goes over the line. Absolutely stunning. And then the other try came late in the game to finally give Carmarthen lead for the first time, 17-10. Bridgend attacking, they spill the ball in the Carmarthen 22, and young Thomas Williams, he just picks up the ball and he runs, it must have been 80, 90 metres and a pause to get the try. But overall, I mean, there's not a great deal to talk about from this game, mate.
Sicky predicted this.
He did, actually.
It's the second time he's predicted a draw this season, and he's got them both correct.
Well, he's gone for another draw, so we'll come to that later. I mean, given the time of the year, we are at full into Cup season now. I know I had a bit of a pop at Everville last week, saying peaking, blah, blah, blah. But do we read into these results? Because, the squads are quite a bit different. I think Quins were missing something like 10 backline players for this game between injuries and the Scarlets.
Stop making excuses, Martin. Just got Quins are the fucking tatering again. What are they going to do? Move this game, is it? Is that what they're going to try and do?
No.
Oh!
It's a league game. You're not going to do that. You're
Nah,
not going to do that.
Do you know what? It's one of those ones. I think there is an element of context when you look at the results around. You've got to look at what sides are doing. Some sides go out and target the cup. Some sides just continue the normal sort of process. Others fully utilize it as development. But as much as Quins were missing a few and Bridgend are trying to probably find a bit of form, I still think the Quins got to be doing better here. You know,
Yeah,
Bridgend have looked so poor this season. Haven't strung anything together. You know, they were rooted to the bottom with Pontypool for weeks. Pooler have started doing a few things. So thinking, right, here they go. Bridgend haven't been looking like doing things. And it's disappointing. You can't walk away from these games. Obviously, for Quins, you know, that first game against Newport, you want to try and get a win on the board. You want to try and go from there. You got to build a platform because ultimately, yes, the top, like I said, the top two go through to the cup semi-final. The third and fourth go through to the plate semi-final. But ultimately, you got to give yourself the best chance. Like, unless you want to play either, well, to be fair, the likelihood is you're playing Ebervale or Landovery anyway. But if you want to travel to one of those, or do you want to host one, that's the difference in finishing in that top spot. So this is why every point counts. And yes, it's not a loss. You're gonna get a couple of points out of this and move on. But that should be minimum 4 points for Quins, I'll be honest. Minimum. Even if you take away a bonus point and account for, you know, the weather and then say, oh, do you know what, the two sides aren't a 6 point difference. Yes, you could argue that Bridgend actually beat Quins at the Brewery Field. Start of, was it the first game of the season?
yeah.
Right in the corner with them all in the last play. But I still think Quins have gone on to show that since then they are a far better side overall. So they'd be disappointed. They need to be doing better than that.
Yeah, I mean, I heard of Steph Thomas, and he's admitted himself like we weren't ourselves on Saturday with Bridgend, and we need to get back to where we have been, and that's all he really get the general thoughts throughout, and I can see that. But just looking at the overall, Bridgend currently are looking to be the 10th team in SRC this season, and Quins have taken 3 points out of 12 against them.
Mm.
That's that's not okay. So we'll see how the season pans out, but that we could be coming back to that biting you on the ass. You know that for Quins, well, Quins, Swansea, Newport, whoever, that could be the difference between that home quarter final in the league that we keep banging on about. But what's done is done. 70-0 draw between Quins and Bridgend in the league. We get to finally leave the league alone for a while
Hey.
now.
Till the
And
7th of March, isn't it?
yeah, so we had a Thursday night game to look forward to last week, and it did not play out pretty well. So Newport against Pontypool on a mm, I don't want to say what the conditions were, but they weren't great.
Hmm.
But it was under the lights, and we got a show. Like, I know we've been banging on about this is where we're going to see the sort of result of Chief coming into Pontypool, and I think we've seen it. I think this is just another result following on from last week that now solidifies there is an impact and we can see a change. So 14-8 Newport leading at half time. It's not an unusual halftime score for Newport this season, even during the big winning streak. But then the game finishes in yet another draw. So 21 all. No, Newport do win the try count 3-2. But honestly, for Pontypool to grind that one, because that's what it was. It was a grind in this game, and I'm pretty sure you can say the same. It, massive kudos for Pooler for really digging in and getting this one through.
Yeah, and I think this is a bit of what I alluded to around the bridge end, not moving on, but Pool have is we're starting to see Pontypool pick up a few results, pick up massively on performances, and actually get into games. And I think, sometimes the condition change probably helps them in terms of doing that because their backs have probably been a lot less silky than they'd have liked this season and are really struggling to put stuff together. I think you're starting to see Pooler bulked up a bit. We've had Dylan KG, Sam Scarf, a few players in there. And I'll be honest, Pooler should have won this game. They should have. They had the chances there. They had enough pressure and enough territory and enough possession to do it. They just couldn't convert what they should have or what they probably should have. But yeah, it's a little bit worrying that Newport are struggling up front at the moment, or not, maybe not struggling, they're being combated up front, they're being nullified effectively these past couple of weeks. And I think that's an interesting factor because when they've been going outside, out against sides in this big winning streak, they've been dominant up front, and that's given them the platform to build off. So yeah, I think it certainly opens our side of the draw up, I'll be honest. A couple of draws, I think for the wider perspective, fantastic. That's what we want. We want these draws to say, actually, yes, there's been a lot of 6 pointers, there's been a lot of bonus points scored this year, but actually there are draws, there are very close and deadlock sort of games that you're gonna see. And this wasn't a bad example. It was a proper blood and guts game, and I've said it before, Pontypool and Newport games haven't always been great this past couple of seasons. I think the cup game was it last year that they met. That was in midweek, either the Thursday or the Friday night, and that wasn't a greatest spectacle either. But a very close game where two teams get physical and it becomes a little bit niggly. But that's what you want in a big close derby game, and ultimately you want to come out with the sort of the kudos, but they share it on this occasion. And I just want to say, I think the Six Nations have obviously seen how good a Thursday night game can be, and that's why they're running with it. Up the
Yeah,
SRC.
yeah. I mean, I do know for a fact, it is a fact that the Six Nations have seen,
Oh, I know.
Super Rugby Cymru on a Thursday and gone, you know what, we need a piece of that. But I'm just going to tell them politely right now, as we know you're all listening.
Go fuck
Leave,
yourselves.
leave out Thursdays alone. Yeah, that's what I was going to
Oh,
say. But
sorry.
you came for it. Leave out Thursdays alone. Thursday is for
Yeah.
SRC only, and maybe some other, I don't know, second tier league somewhere across the world. They
Can't
can have
talk
that.
about Scotland like that.
What? No sense. No sense has ever been with you. Okay, so the other game in Pool A, because Pontypool, Newport, what way around was a Pool A game, was RGC hosting Cardiff. Now we had the intriguing conversation around the star fly half, Billy McBride, who, let's be honest, has run RGC for the last 2 years, wasn't there, and he had a crack in 2 minutes on the field for Scarlet. So well worth missing out on a big game for your club for that. I know pros and blah blah blah, but none of us, literally none of us, backed RGC for this one, and by God, did they prove us wrong. We thought they were going to struggle. We knew Dion Jones was going to go in at 10. That's what's happened in a couple of games. McBride hadn't played, but Christ, they destroyed Cardiff. Absolutely unbelievable scenes. Like 34 points to 5. That's not even just getting a win over them. That is literally putting them in your back pocket and just leaving them there for 80 minutes. You know, one score for Cardiff, and I want to say it came early in the first half because it was 10-5 at halftime. So that's 24-0 in the second. Getting nilled in a half isn't great, but
Fact.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to see underdog sort of results like this. And if you're not a fan of Cardiff, then it might put a wry smile on your face, as you just saw from Rob. You might see one from me as well. But Christ, yeah, this really opens up that Pool A. We've had, a draw between one of the favourites, and one of the favourites take a loss. This is round two. This is throwing up some awesome connotations.
Yeah, I think that's just it. I mean, firstly, I think was it what? Sorry, well, just over 1,100 people watching it, which is
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic in the first instance, and they've been absolutely treated, like you said, with so many players missing for RGC and sort of key areas missing against a Cardiff side who've shown to be on good form. I think it was, like you said, pretty set this game. Beforehand. So for it to be such a wide gap, this wasn't like a late sneak penalty or whatever. Absolutely fantastic. like you said, it throws that pool right up. We've had draws, we've had shock upsets, as you say. All of a sudden, Cardiff, you're like, hang on a minute, what's happening here? And it does make it all the more important then for sides like Pontypool to get that draw against a side like Newport and move on from there, because it really does make a difference now. All of a sudden, those extra points. Sometimes you can see a side, a bit like last year, Ebervale and Landovery cruised through each side. Landovery got like a point more, and that was the deciding factor. All of a sudden, you know, a couple of points is huge. It's not just like, oh well, you're gonna have to go unbeaten in the in the competition sort of thing, or to have a home draw. So that's fantastic in itself. But they've just run Cardiff ragged, and Cardiff hadn't made a ridiculous amount of changes from the side that beat Ebervale. It wasn't like they completely scrapped it and refreshed, which is what you would expect based off the result. But I think this RGC side are definitely a different animal at the moment. They're putting together some absolutely sublime work, and I believe they beat Cardiff down in the Arms Park, didn't they, in the league? I'm sure of it.
Yeah, 28-22, 6th of
That
December.
that what they So six, was it?
Yeah, the 6th of
They-
December,
They've
that was.
still got so they've still got to play up in Colwyn Bay.
No, the first game of the season, Cardiff won up there.
To be
So
honest.
either way, RGC, unless these two finish first and second or third and fourth and make it to a cup or plate final, RGC have won the head to head this year, 2-1.
Yeah,
You know,
there we are. See, that's
they
all that matters.
gotta be proud of that. Really proud. Managed to hear off John Callard as well. I talk. I'll just run through it now. So it's been an interesting 2 weeks and huge contrast in performances. Losing to Pontypool away. We lost 9 out of 14 lineouts, and that it was all self-inflicting. But credit to Pooler, they managed the conditions. Dreadful conditions. Better than we did. Cardiff at home was pleasing in lots of ways, but suspects Cardiff will be disappointed with their showing. Frustrated them and marshalled their attack well. I asked about Billy. Is he going to be staying for the cup for the rest of the season now? Who knows? He says, Billy, who knows? We'll support him whatever he wants to do, and money talks. So we might not. There may be another game or two that
Shocking.
the lad
Imagine
the lad
accepting
misses.
Turk money. Shocking. Turk
I mean,
money or WIU money though at this time, isn't it?
Turk, all Turk. You got to pick Turk money in that scenario, haven't you?
Fake dollar bills up in Colwyn Bay. Abby Tierney's face on the one side.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. Okay, bang that one out of the way. On to Pool B. There was meant to be a game on Sunday, but Ebu Vale cacked their pants and begged Swansea to call it off, and they duly did. So now they'll have to play a midweek game in the next couple of weeks, and Swansea will put out their under 18 so Ebu can get the 6 points. So the other game that
That's
actually was
done, man.
the other game that was actually played was Aberafan against Llandovery. And if you were there for this one, you picked a cracker. 2 tries in the opening 3 minutes. And what was it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 tries all in. Brilliant game of attack in rugby to see. Unfortunately, it was a little bit one sided in the end. It started off fairly even though. Aberafan getting that early try first minute, Quinn's then bouncing back. It was a bit of a tussle, and then Quinn sort of just had more or less the last 50, maybe 60 minutes all to themselves. So, 31-12 half time drove us winning. Final result 43-12. So, that there's only those 2 tries in the second half. So, Aberafan, they fought hard, all game. We can't say this was like, a massive tail off in the last 15-20. There was a tail off somewhere earlier in the first half, but they kept going through to the 80th minute, and fair play to them. They know they're struggling now in the cup. They lost to Bridgend. That was the game for them to win, to get a place in the plate, really. They do still have Swansea to come, but with Swansea, there's a few things going, but this was an opportunity for them to just go out and show what they can do, and I think they showed a lot of determination, a lot of grit to stay and keep it as within the scoreline that it was. Because realistically, I mean, you're talking 19 points in the first half. Generally speaking, if you're already leaking that many, it's going to get worse, especially against a side like Drovers that will pick up a gear or two, or are able to pick up a gear or two, I see. Because this could have quite easily been in the 60s. So, it is some credit to go to Aberravon for keeping the scoreline as low as they did.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Is sometimes you can lose a bit of heart and lose your heads and completely tail off in a game like this. But I think you summed it up around. I think what's killed Aberravon off you is you've got to pick your fixtures, and we've already said it. You've got to get your wins in the games that are winnable, and then take what you can from the tough games because there's an opportunity, right? Like you said, the top four all have extra games to play. If you finish in the top four, you're guaranteed another game. If you finish top of your pool, right, top or third, you're guaranteed a home game because obviously you'll be home in the plate if you finish third. But losing that Bridgend game was an absolute killer. Then you've had a bit of a tatering off Llandovery. All of a sudden, is it your mindset changes? Like,
Yeah.
how do you want to approach a cup all of a sudden? Like the cup is gone for them. It is now. Like you can still rescue that those plate spots. So there is all still stuff to go, but I don't really know how Aberravon approached the cup really because they've got a young squad anyway and a localized core team, so that they're not downgrading from a senior experienced side to a fringe team. They haven't done the business there. So where do you go from here? That's my worry for Aberravon is they seem a bit lost at the moment. They're conceding points all season. They're averaging comfortably north of 30 points a game conceded across all competitions. It just doesn't get any easier. They'll be coming up to Ebervale this week where the pitch is actually going to be playable. So where do you actually you like that? But where do you actually go from here? Because all of a sudden, this is the game now for Aberravon. As you say, you've got Ebervale away and then Swansea at home, innit? So if you don't take anything from Ebervale at all, Swansea's game is probably not going to be enough to get you off that bottom spot.
No.
Especially knowing that Swansea are a solid team. They're not whipping boys or anything like that. They, so straight away, you're not going to get like just walk out there and get 6 points.
Yeah.
So where do you go from there?
There's also the added fact that obviously Aberravon will play their 4 games on the first 4 weekends, and Swansea will still get to go and host Bridgend on the 21st of February, and Aberravon can't do anything about it. So they don't know what they need to do. Realistically, if we're looking at the table right now, which one are they? They've got 1 point. That losing bonus point against Bridgend. So they desperate to at least get a point, against Eberville. That's got to be the minimum. And then 6-0 over Swansea is the only thing that can guarantee them better than fifth. The other results can go awry, but when you've got Eberville and Llandovery in there, you're really not expecting results to go anywhere, which is
No, and
the
I
issue.
think that I think that's just it, and it is. You'd expect those two to do it. Bridgend have already, that's not it. That's normally you'd say if it was like they played Llandovery and Ebervale and they got nothing or like they got a point, you go, do you know what? They got Bridgend, they got Swansea. That's an opportunity to go into double figures. You're all right. But you've played Bridgend and that card's gone. You got 1 point out of that game, and you probably should have got four, at least, probably five. Then you say you don't take anything out of a Llandovery fixture. You're chasing all of a sudden. And I'll be honest, out of what I've seen of these teams in the pool in the last couple of months, Aberravon are by far the least deserving of any knockout cup rugby. Even Bridgend have shown more than Aberravon have in this past 2 months. And that's really sad to say of the Wizards. There's a lot going on at the club, but you know, you got to push past that. And at the moment, it feels that whilst the wage cap has effectively been brought in at 150 last year, 160 this year, they've had to pull down and under that. and whether that's affected how they outlook. But an aging squad sort of moved on. They've had a couple of retirements, couple of injuries, and you're moving away from it with local lads. But you've got to start actually showing that your scouting process is good, because it's all well and good saying we've got a squad of 35 players who live within a 10-minute drive of tag, but if they're all fucking shit, it doesn't make a difference. Ultimately, you've got to get something going in the team at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a fire in the team. They seem to go out there and then they're playing really scrappy, sloppy rugby. They get hammered by Llandovery. And I'm not saying it wasn't a good opening 20 minutes, but what did we say about Swansea last year? They were struggling in games for 60, 70 minutes. And then you can put 10, 20 minutes together, but it's not good enough at this level. So we Aberravon go from you. Like that's the worry for me, because they're gonna have to go strong to get any points out of Ebervale on the road, and then back it up against Swansea.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. The only thing they're playing for, I think, now is, yes, that fourth spot, and hope that the results go their way, but try and get a bit of form before the league comes back around and start the next month.
Yeah, because there's if you do get that fifth spot, see, it's another side effect. I mean, we're talking like 4 weeks, three,
Mm.
4 weeks without a game. So you've got
Well,
that
that's
to add in. I mean, I'm looking at Aberravon's squad now, and of the 223s, away to Bridgend at home to Llandovery, 22 players in both squads, have been named earlier in the season.
yeah.
I mean, it might be 21 if I'm really being picky. But this is a core Aberravon squad, and there's only one player in the Aberdeen game, the hooker Jay Winters. That's the only anomaly if for the whole season. So it's not a case of they're chopping and changing, they're trying new things. So it's a concern. We'll have to wait to see, what team should come. I mean, I'm maybe thinking. Obviously, we know there's issues with Jason Hyatt. He's stepped away, and it seems as though the philosophy has kind of stayed as it is. There's no, when you have a new coach come in, you normally have a bit of a boost. They like to do things their own way. It seems like nothing has changed,
Yeah,
which is
they've
yeah,
got some quality players as well, right? Like I laugh and joke about whether the squad's not good enough, but you look at the boys like Cullen, Whitlock, Del Nevo, Gage, right? You might not be having the greatest season, but he's a quality player. Boys like Frankie Jones and Brad Roderick, these are experienced players as well. I mean, like, and that's excluding if you get buddy Corey Lewis Jenkins in as well. All of a sudden, you go, hang on a minute, we've just named an entire backline there. This isn't a rubbish team that like, oh, do you know what, they're miles off the pace. As there's something wrong. And personally, I put it down to the decision made by the chairman Andrew. He no longer allows chips with the corned beef pie because the smell goes into the clubhouse. And I think this is all fucking karma.
yeah. That does. Who doesn't have chips with corn? It's corned beef pie, gravy, and chips. That's
But
it.
if anyone's ever had corned beef pie at Tag, it's probably the best corned beef pie you ever tasted. This is karma. You got to have chips with it.
That is what it's down to,
Reverse the decision, and Aberravon will instantly get a win. I can guarantee it.
and you'll get at least an extra Rob Reese through the gate.
100%. I would make my way to Tag purely out of unprotest, just to save my point. And I would shout for Aberravon as well to get him across that try line. I'd pay the ref, and of course you could give the ref corned beef pie and chips as well.
Oh yeah, you got to. I mean, that's all you actually need to do. Just make the
Exactly.
chips for the ref.
Maybe
You'll
that
sort you
maybe
out.
that's just it. Maybe the refs feel exactly the same way as me, and they just think fuck them.
That's a bit harsh, but okay. Like we get your point. Okay, that is all of last week's action done and dusted. Like, share, subscribe, do your thing, comment, whatever. Tell us Bucky needs a new name. Okay, on to this week, and we have ever so graciously allowed Bucky to make John Harris. I need to say that before he doesn't have an official nickname at the minute.
Brings a
We've
whole new meaning to pull a sickie now, though, doesn't it?
uh, we've wrong. My head's no. I didn't need that image. So we've graciously allowed him to make his own predictions this week because every time somebody says a draw, it bloody happens. Okay,
He's done
so
it anyway.
uh, I'm gonna go backwards now. I'm gonna start in Pool B and finish in Pool A. So first one up, we got Llandyfri at home to Bridgend, and Mr. Harris has obviously used his brain and probably even looked at the odds to this one, and he's gone Llandyfri. You know, maybe if Bridgend had a more convincing win against Aberafan and even a win against Quins this past week in the league, maybe there'd be a case to say they could be within a couple of scores. But I'm still expecting a full 6 points for Llandyfri. They're just too strong, and they're on a real decent run of form coming into this competition.
Yeah, I do think it'll be a comfortable 6 point, and I think it puts Landover in a good position for that top spot battle in round four. I think what I'm more interested in this game is can Bridgend hang on to the coattails? Can they take anything from this? Because they've already accumulated a set of points. So again, they're looking to push up, and again that third spot. I'm not saying that they can't go higher than that, but I think third is where they're probably realistically looking for. That's a home game, extra revenue, extra boost to try and go through. And there's a chance at silverware then because ultimately, with the top two out the way, that's the top four teams out of 10 are in another competition. So I think this is going to be the barometer for me in terms of where Bridgend actually are. If they can put in a really good performance, pull this game a little bit closer, prevent a 6 pointer maybe, then all of a sudden I think we're looking at Bridgend hosting somebody in the next round of the plate.
Yeah, that is definitely a strong possibility. But yeah, if they do manage to keep the match points to five, whether it's 5-0, even 6-1, picking up a try
Yeah,
bonus point would be achievable. You know, I I'd be very happy to see that. And who knows? Maybe Quins can get another crack at Bridgend and break their hoodoo. So next game up in this same pool is your one and only beautiful Ebbw Vale, who are at home to Aberafan, so they can call the fixture off themselves if they fancy. They don't have to go around making scrupulous phone calls or whatnot. I'm only joking. Only joking. Ebbw don't do that. The
proper
uh,
clubs, yeah.
yeah, proper clubs, proper clubs. Uh, I am a bit gutted. This is Aberafan. I wish this was Swansea, just because having that extra week off, that extra week to not put the Cardiff result behind you, I think that could be a telling factor. But looking at how Aberafan are right now, I don't think there's a decision other than a 6 pointer for Ebbw Vale. I really don't, and I can't. As much as there are good individuals at Aberafan and they really can put out a solid 15-23, I just don't see it as a team, as a unit, them coming
Mm.
close in this game, especially being at Eugene Cross.
Yes, I'm pretty much in a bit of agreement there. I think is it's difficult to see where Aberravon come from in this game. I'm interested to see what Ebervale do in terms of squad selection. They might have one eye in terms of how they want to manage the next couple of weeks. Effectively, it's going to be the next two Wednesdays for the Swansea game reallocation now. Obviously, you've got Aberravon followed by Llandovery the next two Saturdays. The Saturday after that is going to be the semi-finals, obviously. So there's no bye weeks or spare weeks, should we say. Obviously, it was a 6 pointer at the start of the season, very first game of the season, I believe, up at Eugene Cross. And all the form just tells that Aberravon aren't putting in the performances, but they like putting in a good performance against Ebervale. So it'd be interesting to see whether this is that game. Um, Pitch is obviously going to be a bit heavy underfoot given the conditions, but it'll be pretty good, Nick, because it hasn't had a game on it since December 20th. Obviously, Ebervale have been all away since then. Poole away, Llandovery away, Cardiff away, Swansea called off, and then into you. So it's 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 going to be a good game. I feel. I think it'll be a good tussle up front, and I think depending on what the weather and the conditions are actually like on the day, I think everybody will try and play a bit of rugby on this one, especially because I can see them rotate in the squad. I think we'll see a few more changes on the squad that was named to play Swansea with an eye towards the midweek fixture. I think it might be quite telling if we see a completely revamped team. That's Wednesday is going to be the Swansea game. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but Everville for me.
Yeah, it's gotta be. So we skip backwards into Pool A, and we have Carmarthen Quins travelling to Pontypool. Now, before I make any sort of comments, I'm backing Quins. End of. That's my choice. That's what it is. End of. Now, reasons, and there are there's a few reasons why they're probably not going to win this game, but I'm going with my heart more than my head here. Obviously, I mentioned the current state of the squad. Sean Evans, who yes, he was a professional hooker. Yes, he played 60 odd games, played against world champions, Bongion Banambi, Oxenche, etc. So many games. Probably the more ironically because he's playing at 7, but he's probably the most experienced hooker in the league. But now he's dropping back into hooker. So I think he probably didn't expect to do it once he signed back with the semi-pro club. It has changed the dynamic a little bit. So I have my concerns going forward. Like we are expecting some boys back. Like Yori Badam was with the Scarlets. We're hoping he's going to be back. Well, we are expecting him back. Ben Williams, I think he was a cautionary withdrawal last week by the Scarlets. I think he's allowed back in as well. Rodri Lewis, and another allocation player. But I think this comes with the territory of when your first or your second choice players are your allocation players. You need a good enough squad around it, and we're not seeing quite that. I am interested to see if we get a hooker back. If Lewis Morgan or Lewis Jones is fit, then I think that swings it back into Quinn's favour a bit. Just because having Sean Evans, wearing that number 7, it makes a huge difference. If you get who would it be? Lewis Millen, Sean Evans, and Ben Williams as your back row. You're having fun with that all day, and it's a completely different prospect. And then when you go into your back line, you've actually got a 9 playing 9. It helps. Steph Evans wasn't in this game as well. I haven't asked the question if he's fit. I really should have, but I didn't. So if I get back onto Steph earlier, where is it? Must have Pool have improved a lot in recent weeks and are going to be a real good test. We go there looking to get our cup run going because obviously the one game so far and they didn't manage to do that. I mean, if you want to give me all the pros for Pontypool, the chief effect is seemingly on the upward curve, and tell me, I'm guessing you're probably going Pontypool.
Yeah, I actually am. But I think the key battle, yeah, I think it's interesting when you mention about Sean being a hooker because sometimes it's not about what he doesn't gain at hooker, but it's what you lose then at open side is where the true reflection comes. But I do think the front row is the major battle here because Poole have been having a couple of dragons drop in. It's massively solidified their set piece. That's given them a bit more of a platform. I think the allocation is definitely the difference maker here. I think we're a bit more unsure about Quins, but I think Pooler's allocation gives them strength in areas that are unequivocably like those decision making areas. That front row, the 9 areas where you make the impact up front is different. So yeah, I think as much as I think it'd be good to see Quins get going and again further open this pool up. I don't think it'll be a runaway victory for
No,
Pontypool. I think they will have just a little bit too much at home.
Yeah. My mind is telling me it's going to be a tight game for about 65, 70, and possibly Pula getting a late try or a couple kicks in there. I don't know. My mind is telling me that. I'm telling it to shut up. It doesn't know what it's talking about. But
Was this the
we'll,
one Bucky went for? Well, Bucky slash Sicky went for a draw.
he did, yes. He has gone for an actual draw. He's had so much success with draws being forced on him. He's gone and picked one. And I'll be honest,
I
it's not out there. It's not that far out there.
no, no, it's not. Like you said, it is a tight one to call. We both made a prediction. That sounds like we're very confident, but equally, if you turn around to me and say Quins have won this one, or if someone turn around to you and Pontypool won this one, you're not going, what? Really? You go, ah. So if they turn around and went, oh, they drew, everyone will go, fair enough. And I'll be honest, based on form, if they drew, it probably would be a fair reflection. Carmarthen could be the first team to go through and draw the games. Pontypool could be the same.
It would be Pontypool. Quinn's draw was in the league. You keep forgetting, my boy. You keep
I know,
forgetting.
but we've got a fixture that we can talk about, but can't talk about Martin as well.
Yeah, well, you know nothing. You know nothing. You keep pushing, but you know nothing. There might not even be a fixture to talk about. There
What
probably
fixture?
isn't.
What
I
fixture?
don't know.
Sorry.
Cardiff Newport, but that's the last game we get to talk about this week. It is that East City v East City. Well, I want to say title match, but it's never going to be a title match.
No.
It's heavy. Newport drawing at home against a big local rival. Cardiff going north and being handed their ass.
Mm.
Both are going to want a reaction, and I think the bigger reaction is probably going to come from Cardiff.
Mm.
Now, I've penciled in Newport just because I think Newport's standard, even without biting back after recent performances, is that a bit higher than Cardiff's. And okay, I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm sticking with Newport for this one. I just think since the opening 5 rounds of the league, they've shown what they're capable of, and they're not going to let a draw at home against Pula really affect them all that much. It's a tough game. Form goes out the window. La di da di da. They can put it to one side, and next time they battle, they'll deal with that. That's that's the mindset I'm expecting them to go with. Cardiff, on the other hand, you've got that Boyd feeling from really giving the league leaders a thumping, and then going to let's be honest, probably a lower half table. They are a lower table team and being handed their own ass. So there's got to be a bit of soul searching there, going, how have we gone from A to bloody Z there? It just don't make sense.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna split our decision with you. So Sicky will have to have the input to decide who's getting what. I just feel that Cardiff at home are gonna be that little bit different. Um, Newport have been struggling up front. They have. They've been struggling to really get into teams, which is how they've been dominant since week 6 when they started getting the wins for the first time in the league. But Cardiff, I think, is important to note that when they first started out, they were missing players like Alan Rees, the Hud brothers, Aled Ward wasn't fully in there, Sean Moore was missing for quite a few weeks. And I believe he actually got sent off, didn't he, in the Newport
Yeah,
game? So there's quite a few different factors around past results and how they both started the seasons. But I just get that feeling that Newport are in a bit of a rut. It's nothing serious, but they are in that rut. Cardiff are obviously coming in off the back of an absolute pasting, but will be massively buoyed, as you say, with that result at home against Ebervale. Just a fortnight ago, they had a good kick out against the under 21s as well, obviously including several of their own players playing against them effectively. And that's why I just feel that they are going to just kick on in this fixture again. I wouldn't be surprised if Newport won it, but Cardiff for me. So we'll go from there.
Happy days, and huge shout out to the under 20s that I believe are playing Friday night. Is that right? Friday, 6th of February, yeah.
Yeah.
And Wales under 20s facing England under 20s. I can't see where it's in England, but I can't see what ground is in. So, obviously full of SRC talent. Unbelievably loaded. I think something like 18 boys have played SRC rugby this season. And the ones that haven't are all bloody based over the bridge. So it's hell of a game for you to watch. Being as though we're talking about SRC talent. But that brings us to the end. Another short, sharp, sweet podcast. Thank you for listening. And thank you for joining me, Rob. Like, share, subscribe. Do your thing. Apparently, there's a little shop or something underneath on YouTube if you're watching. Don't look underneath if this is rap Spotify. I'm confusing myself by here. So yeah, like, share, tweet, everything that comes with that, comment, whatever you want to do it, and we will do this all again next week. Thank you very much, and good night.
Super.
Super.